You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Adler and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is episode 391, the Book of Boba Fett trailer reaction show. We're going to do a breakdown. We've seen it already, so it's really not a reaction. It's kind of a post-reaction show, if you will. But this kind of trumped what we were going to do this week. We were going to do the Book of Ronin. That's really not what it's called. We were going to do the Ronin book and decided to, well, this just kind of happened. And there were some rumors floating around as early as last week that this may happen on the 1st. And I think they were off by, just a day or so. But we had to get in here and talk about this because there's, for a trailer that really wasn't very long, it didn't have a lot to show us. We were able to make an entire show out of it. So it looks like there's going to be plenty of scum and villainy. And speaking of scum and villainy, welcome, Jonesy. Jonesy,
hey.
How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. And man, I just love how you lead into these shows every week. It's never a dull moment.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you.
Don't even have to pay for it. You just get it for free.
Yeah,
it's great.
There's no charge. Yeah. So, and I was being serious. Like, we're going to get into like our initial reactions and everything here in just a little bit of after, when we saw it, kind of overall thoughts and comments. But there really wasn't a lot in the trailer. And yet, there's so much that we have in our notes because what we do here is speculate until we get something right, So there's plenty of material, plenty of things that were not shown that we can certainly speculate on and kind of build off of that. So,
right.
But
was it? So were you expecting this to happen on Monday? Were you pretty certain this was a done deal that we were getting it this week?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. So there were some pretty credible sources as early as Friday of last week that said we'd be getting something here this week. And then I think on Sunday or either Sunday or yesterday, I forget, one of the two, there was some pretty substantial people out there saying you're going to get the trailer tomorrow at some point. And that was Sunday. That was supposed to be the 1st. Well, it didn't happen obviously on the 1st, but then, well, we got it. Well, I'm saying we did. Sorry.
We got it on the 1st, yeah.
We got it on the 1st. Yeah. Halloween, yeah, is when we did. My days are all screwed up here. I'm thinking it's Monday.
Silly for it to come out on Halloween, though, right?
Yeah. Plus, I mean Sunday, people are out doing stuff. You've got the World Series going on. Football's going on. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff happening on the weekends in general. So it's really not, the kind of the optimal time. So kind of hit them on that Monday and get the week started. And that's all anybody's been talking about this week so far, at least in my circles. But yeah, let's
got a little news though, right?
A little bit. I was going to pull this up, and shame on me for not getting prepared here, but I want to talk. Let's talk about the poster really quick. I'll pull this up here in just a minute because I thought the poster, it was fine. There wasn't a whole lot, and I wouldn't expect there to be a whole lot given, they can't really show much, right? I mean, they don't want to show quite a bit, but it was a very cool poster, and I know you kind of took it and made it into our little show title card here. But what did you think of the poster itself? While I scramble to pull this up.
Yeah, for the people on the video feed, then kind of see in the background. But yeah, simple and straightforward. It gives it that kind of rustic kind of feel, and I love the sun kind of setting behind Boba. I think that's a really nice touch. But yeah, you don't really need to do a whole lot. I mean, it's the Book of Boba Fett.
True.
So you have Boba and you have Fennec Shan. Again, they're not really giving us anything. You get Slave One in there, but you don't have any other characters anywhere like we're used to seeing in many Star Wars posters. But especially only a month out or so, or I guess we're just under 2 months out, but a little surprising we didn't get much, but it was, I like it though. I think I like simple, and I like these real kind of rugged, all the clouds and everything below them, which I think it's probably sand, but it's also kind of a nice callback to maybe Bespin a little bit. But yeah, it's clearly, I think it's clearly sand in this case, but I really like the font that they picked though. I couldn't emulate that very well. I tried, but I like the worn look, especially during the trailer. You have this, the color scheme and the worn letters is persistent through all of it, including on the poster, which I think was a really nice touch as well. That consistency is always really important whenever you're starting to advertise and really, build up the marketing chain on these types of things.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, again, what do you need to do with the poster to sell this? Nothing really. I mean, everybody's going to watch it already.
Right. Yeah. You put the guy on there. Done.
Yeah, you put them on there. You throw Fennec Shan in the back because we're excited to see her. Throw Slave One.
Yeah.
You got the Tatooine Sons or BB-8 if you want to look at it that way.
I was expecting a visor thon, like somewhere, like just a quote. That joke felt flat. Sorry.
Okay, well, we'll just edit that.
Oh,
right
it was
out.
good. Yeah, no, we won't. We'll leave it.
So the sand, though. So when I saw this, I thought, well, is this going to be? Are we going to have crate dragons again? Because that looks like a lot of dust being kicked up.
Yeah.
But again, we'll get into speculation here a little bit. But yeah, I mean, very cool poster with you on the warm tones. Very cool stuff. And then obviously his whole costume is a little different now too. Like I don't know if you saw this, but they talked about the pants. The pants. Yeah. Sorry,
Pants.
my Michigan accent's coming out. My pants. The pants are like skinnier now, and the uniform looks a little bit tighter too. And I don't know if that was him trimming down or feedback from the Mandalorian and all the jokes that were being made about him, which I didn't really get. I didn't have a problem with his look in the Mandalorian, but he does look a little slimmer. So,
well, and I think the
welcome,
undergarments,
I guess,
right? But the undergarments are they look good, right? They're stitched. You can tell that he's actually put effort into it. He's not just wearing whatever sand clothes he had, the desert clothes,
Yeah.
So it just makes sense. He's all more put together than we last saw him in Mandalorian, and I think it's great. What's a little interesting though is the background here. Okay, that's only two suns, but what it kind of looks like is Mickey Mouse's head turned sideways.
That's what I said. It looks like BB-8. Like it's
Oh, BB-8, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it does look like BB-8. You're right.
Especially at the very end of the Rise of Skywalker, when he's kind of standing there in the sun, silhouette. But yeah, no, I'm with you. It does look. It's like a Disney logo, Mickey Mouse thing too.
Yeah, but no, I think a great, straightforward poster. This works for me.
All right. Well, let's talk about the other thing I didn't pull up, which was the Phase 1. We're coming to the end of
oh boy,
the High Republic.
Yeah, it's about to get real.
Yeah. Phase 1 poster, and this was really cool. Like there's
Googling on the fly.
I know. This is like terrible. Again, thank you for joining the live show. I'm sorry you have to witness this in the manner in which we're doing it, and now you get to deal with my slow internet connection. That's probably not a good look. It's right here.
Right. Who will survive? Yeah.
Who will survive?
Right. With Starlight Beacon and starting to go the way of the Starship Enterprise, it looks like.
Yeah. So, I mean, like they really, we've been speculating about the Fallen Star and whether that was going to be somebody, a character from the High Republic era, or if this would be Starlight Beacon. Would it be both? I think it's pretty clear. It's at least Starlight Beacon. I mean, they pulled the Band-Aid off on that one. So I think there's a lot of speculation still around if, one of the Fallen Stars, a.k.a. Avar Chris, Elzar Mann, one of those guys, Stellan Gios, maybe that's one of the ones that's going to fall from grace in some way. But
right.
The question of who will survive when the light of the Jedi goes dark, I think that one is very intriguing. So I do expect us to have some serious loss here. How about you?
Yeah, it certainly seems like it. I mean, and there's a bunch of characters with what they're doing with like, what's his name? The Trandoshan. I'm drawing a total blank. Skier. Yeah, Skier. What they're doing with him is really odd in the comics. So that's a character I'm not sure if he's just going to make it much longer. They've really talked about his losing connection with the Force. We're supposed to be getting some more information here pretty soon about what's actually happening. The comics keep teasing it, so clearly it's probably 6 months from now.
Yeah,
that's usually how they work. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, there's any host of characters. We've seen Keeve Trennis. We've seen Sarah and Tarek are not in great shape right now in the comics.
I thought one of them died for sure in the last comic, but
it's it was a cliffhanger, right? They didn't really tell us. We kind of think so, but can one live without the other is the question, because they are one, and they always use we. And all of a sudden, I think it was, I can't keep them straight which one's which.
Yeah,
but
it was one of them was just saying.
Yeah, started using I. Yeah, which was a really big deal, and people picked up on it, or the characters picked up on it right away.
Yep. Yeah.
But yeah, man, you got so many characters that could, that could go out. But I like when the light of the Jedi goes dark, because you can interpret that in so many different ways beyond just the specificity of Starlight Beacon being the light of the galaxy and the light of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it's got to be more, metaphorical than anything else of what's actually going on with the Jedi, and kind of makes you seem like maybe, hopefully, we get a little more leveler, or is this just all nihil all the time?
Yeah. No, I think all to be determined. But Scott Ryfun says looks like the original The Phantom Menace video cover. That's true. Like the colors and the tones remind me. That's right. It does look kind of like the Phantom Menace there. So
It does, yeah, a very
yep,
orange color. And welcome,
yep,
Scott. I think first time chatting with us.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited about this. We're going to probably break this all down here eventually. Very
No,
soon.
not
So
us.
yeah, no, we will. So we'll move on from that. And let's see, what else did I forget to pull up in advance so that we can talk about today? Oh, the Darth Maul animated series. So I wanted to bring this up,
Is
and
there
it's not.
credibility to this?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
There's definitely credibility to this, and I hate to say that it's a rumor. It's just one of these kind of things that is already it's out there. The big people are already carrying it. It has a lot of weight. We have everything but an official announcement at this point from Disney that this is going to happen. And there's a whole history here with Darth Maul and how long they've been trying to get him to come onto the big screen. And they had, the Ray Park incident, which we won't talk about, which we
Right.
will not talk about on the show. And that kind of put things on the back burner for a little bit. And then they decided to come back to it. And, it was going to be a sequel to Solo. It was going to be a movie. Then they pulled back on that. And now it looks like it's definitely going to get some kind of animated series that's going to fill in the gaps from the point of Solo Star Wars story up until we see him in Clone Wars and his ultimate death with against Obi-Wan Kenobi. But again, nothing official, so we can't say that we have no real source from Disney saying this at all. But I just want to get your thoughts on. This is something that whether you would want to see something animated, and we say animated. I don't know if they mean 2D, 3D. My gut tells me it would be 3D, just because everything else is 3Ds and
Yeah.
or 3D, and they do really well. I mean, they've proven that now with the Bad Batch and last season of Clone Wars. But yeah, what did you think? What do you think about that? Getting the whole Crimson Dawn, Underdark kind of or
Yeah.
Underworld stuff that an animated series.
When I first saw it, it was very. I give you honest, I didn't have a very positive reaction to it because I kept thinking, I was like, man, we've had so much Maul in animated series. I mean, we had a lot of Maul for a very long time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he kept coming back, right? He, like we joked, he has legs apparently. So it's a it's a good character though, and I'm trying to look at it from that point of view, like you were saying, of post Solo up to where we're at in the War of the Bounty Hunter comics, that Kira is taking over Crimson Dawn, and
Yeah.
what happened in between all of that, in the underworld aspect of it, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more I thought about that, though, the more interesting that got to me, because I really do want to know what Maul and Kira did, because clearly, I mean, if Maul's in this, you have to assume that Kira is going to be in this too, right?
I would think so. Yeah.
Which I
Yeah.
think, which I think they would be partners more or less, and it would almost be as much of a Kira story sometimes as Maul potentially.
Right.
Which I like that idea, because there's a lot of things with Kira we don't understand. We really don't understand what her motivations are, her drivers. The comic is a bit ambiguous at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, and some of the sneak peeks we've got for the Crimson Reign series makes that even more difficult to try to understand. So this could really fill in some gaps, depending on how long it takes for them to come out with the story, though. If this is a year or two from now, I mean, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? I don't really know without knowing specifically what they're trying to do. But if at this point, do you think they're that far into development, or do you think this is still more or less an idea?
I don't know. If so, again, if you go by the history of where this show has been, there have been lots of stories that have been kicked around. Some of it have leaked into the comics. Some of it's kind of leaked into shows and everything else. Maybe we may even see some of it here in some regard, right? Some of the inklings of stuff that we'll see, the foundations for some of the things that we're going to see in the Book of Boba Fett, given that we are going to the underworld, right?
Right.
So based on that, I would say, yeah, they probably do. They probably did or have enough to put something out relatively quickly. Knowing them, what I'm more interested in seeing is just, I want to see Darth Maul's character evolve, right?
Yeah.
Like, if they give us that, then I think that's intriguing enough for me just to kind of see. Because I mean, you think about his evolution; he's just gone through so many different iterations of himself, reinventing himself, and being able to kind of witness him, soar to great heights and then completely come crashing down with nothing left. I mean, but the misery of just trying to find Obi-Wan to exact revenge on him. I mean, that would be a really cool story to see how he
Right.
got from up here down to where he's roaming a desert, literally dying trying to find Obi-Wan because he's just mad and obsessed, and it's the only thing he's got left that gives him purpose. You know what I mean? That storyline would be intriguing to me. So I would love to see that. But I mean, I'm not going to be again. It's Star Wars. It's pizza. It's beer. Give it to me. I'll watch it. It's fine. I'll take it. But I'm pretty excited about it. I will say that. I mean, I'd love to see them fill in those blanks, and because I don't know that we're going to get another Solo movie. To be honest, I know a lot of people are pulling for it, and
That's
but
disappointing.
given yeah, I mean, given where the comics are going right now, given that this series looks like it's going to be, it's got some steam behind it. That idea of Solo, a Star Wars story 2 is just really like falling behind. Now Lando may still be out there, fair
Yeah.
game, but
Well, and
yeah,
I know
I
we
don't
got to
think it's
move
going to
on.
happen.
I know we got to move on, but I want to get one more question for you about Maul. If there were flashbacks that took us back to him and Palpatine, his training, his development, even the Age of Republic Darth Maul comic one shot we got where he was, snorting Sith remnants and stuff like that. Would you like to see some of that back and forth to where we get actually a real history of Maul, more so than what we got in Clone Wars and those stories? Or is like, now let's just really focus on the Crimson Dawn days.
I would say focus on the Crimson Dawn days. I say that, but it does feel for me, it feels like this is probably going to be, and I knock on wood, this may be the last thing we get from Maul, right? I don't know that we're going to
Yeah.
get we're going to get anything. And maybe they go back and do some kind of a comic or something along those lines where we get what you're talking about, which I think what you're saying is you'd love to see that. I would love to
Yeah.
see that. We've never had any insight into what that kind of relationship looked like, what his training looked like. That level of the dark side when you have somebody like Palpatine training someone, we've never seen it ever really. So that would be really awesome and intriguing as well to see. However, I think given where, again, based on history and where the show has been kind of in development and some of the stories they've tossed around, I think that's probably going to be not it certainly won't be in the forefront. Now, maybe they have little bits and pieces of it where he's having flashbacks or he's kind of talking about, his training or some of the things he learned from Palpatine without actually saying his name or evoking his name. Yeah, maybe we'll see.
Right. And Mike Rondo has chimed in as usual. We don't
Yep.
need any more Maul.
Yeah. Translation. We don't need any more Star Wars. Okay. So let's I think
get
that's
into
it.
this trailer.
Yeah, we're going to get into this trailer.
Yeah.
We're going to take this 2-minute trailer and turn it into about another hour here. So I know a number of people have
We're
already
going to do a
chimed
Patreon
in.
show after for another hour.
We're gonna do a Patreon show. So quickly on the Patreon show, I don't know if we landed the name. I'm just gonna go with what I threw out there. We're calling it the table of contents of Boba Fett. Since we've got the Book of Boba Fett, I think it makes sense that we have a table of contents. And in all seriousness, what we're going to do is cover the. Okay, so this again is getting into some leaks and stuff, but it looks like we do from credible sources. We've got potentially the first 8 episode titles. So we're going to go through each one of those and talk about and speculate what the titles could mean. They're one-word titles for the most part, very similar to what we got with The Mandalorian.
Right.
And we're just going to wax a whole bunch of crap. So bring your foil, bring your hats, bring whatever you're smoking, because we're going to.
Right. But if you're concerned about spoilers of knowing the episode titles, although they
Yeah.
don't really give a lot away, but they do suggest some things. So, take it with caution if you decide to chime in or if you decide to sign up. Patreon.com/the Cantina Cast.
Yeah. The one that says the one that's called The Death of Boba Fett is probably the one that gives away the most, but
Probably
beyond
not.
that, the rest of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, and then the rebirth of Boba Fett probably a little bit.
Oh yeah,
more.
that one gives away a lot too. Okay, those are jokes, both of those.
All right,
so
let's do this.
So let's talk about the trailer. Just a couple comments. Katya is with us. She said, I think they are hiding the action. The trailer didn't show much. I would completely agree. They did not show us a whole lot. That will not stop us though. Trust me. We are
Right.
we're going to tell you everything that did not happen. And I think who was it? Steph chimed in and said the trailer honestly wasn't very interesting. We're going to make it interesting.
That's right.
Hopefully.
That's why you have us.
Yeah,
you're going to hear us talk about it, and people are going to go watch the trailer thinking it's this great thing, and
yeah,
they're going to be blown. Mind blown.
Okay, so give me your right. So give me your thoughts overall. I know we've already kind of commented about it itself, but apart from it not really showing a whole lot, what do you think about the trailer itself?
I think it did what it was supposed to accomplish. Right, it set the tone for what we think we're going to get for this series, and really give us an idea of what Boba's, what his maybe not what his goals are in the end, but at least what his focus is and what he's interested in at this point. And it's a little bit of a detour from what we saw on The Mandalorian, but I think you don't really have to get that far. You don't have to really, take a hard left turn to really get on board with where he's at, considering where he's potentially been. And again, we'll talk a little bit about, speculate about where he's actually been some more. But I liked it. I thought it got the message across. I think the idea of an underworld focused show has always been interesting. We've wanted this in video games. We've wanted this on TV shows. We wanted something closer to this in some of the movies. They're not really successful doing that with Solo so much, but in that regard, at least. So, but I like the idea that the show is going to keep that gritty tone, and I think that the tone of this, I think we both agree, still Harry very much has a Mandalorian tone to it.
Yeah.
It very much feels like a continuation, which makes a lot of sense. Richard Rodriguez, Bryce Dallas Howard, Filoni, and all the characters, all the
Jon
big
Favreau.
names, Favreau, yeah, all the names that were part of Mandalorian are all a part of this one too, or at least a vast majority of them too. So I think we're going to get a very similar style to where these are really going to mesh well together and really do feel like another chapter in the story, or at least a why, in the same overall story. So I kind of like that idea. Now, whether or not we get crossovers or anything like that will remain to be seen. But I think overall, I'm encouraged by what we're seeing, that it's going to still be something that we were familiar with. And generally, we pretty much liked everything we got. So what about
Yeah.
you, Safar?
Yeah, no, I'd echo all of that. They didn't have to put this trailer out. I mean,
Right,
again,
yeah.
Katya was saying that she was going to see it, was going to see it regardless, and I think that's probably true of anybody that's coming off the Mandalorian, anybody that's a Boba Fett fan, anybody that's a Mandalorian fan, or just a fan of Star Wars in general. You're probably going to watch this, and we don't necessarily need a trailer. Watching this, it looks like it's probably maybe one, at most two episodes that we're seeing here, footage from those
Yeah.
episodes, right? Likely this is all the stuff that we're going to see in the first 10 minutes of the first episode. Even though we'll probably make it sound like it's the full, 8 episodes or whatever it is. The direction, just in watching the visuals, there's certain shots that look like Robert Rodriguez shots. So I'm assuming he directed the first one based on what we've seen, if all this kind of holds true. I know Alex had responded that he only wanted to see, he says, I only want Robert Rodriguez directed episodes.
I apologize. I called him Richard. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. He's dumb anyways. But those episodes. So if we think about it, we're talking about 8 episodes. Although, okay, so one real quick thing. It's been rumored that there's going to be 8 episodes. Actually, I think it's been verified. There would be at least 8 episodes.
Right.
Just recently, I think as of yesterday, Jordan Mason, I give him credit, for Cineflix, had said that there's 9 episodes. He had seen or read that there was 9 episodes. And so he is one of those credible sources out there, I should say, saying that there was 9. So I don't know if that's going to be 8 and there's some bonus episode that no one was aware of, or maybe they take that 8th one and they've split it up now into 2 episodes. We've seen that before, and it's technically 2 episodes, although it's really kind of just one that's a 2-parter kind of thing. Nonetheless, if you do the math, if you've got Bryce Dallas Howard, you've got Dave Filoni's directing one, you've got Jon Favreau's directing one, that's at least 3. So you're in for at least 4 or 5 episodes right now, unless there's other directors they've not announced. 4 or 5 episodes that are Robert Rodriguez directed.
Yeah, I was under the impression that Robert Rodriguez was directing most of the episodes, or at least half of them, something like that, right?
Yeah. So the math checks out in that regard. So
it's an older code, but it checks out.
But so going back to kind of bring back to what I was saying is, we were in some of those shots, especially that one where he's kind of cleaving that guy or whatever that was that he was hacking down, and he had that crazy haka look in his eyes,
Right.
That was, that's something that you would get from Robert, or that particular angle and that crazy look and all that. That's the stuff that we saw in the episode he directed. And I was seeing a lot of that in this trailer, which I thought was really great. The other thing that stood out for me, aside from the weathered look, I've got it in the background here for my background, but that was kind of cool. A nice little touch that they weathered that.
Yeah.
The tagline, every galaxy has an underworld. So to your point, we'd been speculating about what this series was going to be about, right? If you go back to last year when we covered the final episode of The Mandalorian, we had speculated that this was likely going to be the underworld, and we were going to finally get the 1313 stuff and all that stuff in the video game, that was all that storyline that was created but never made it out because of the acquisition and all the history there. Go
Mhm.
back and listen to that episode. We get into it, but I think this definitely confirms it is going to be Underworld specific. And I've got a lot of theories and thoughts about where that's going, how that's going to play into season 3 of The Mandalorian, how this is going to play into the larger Filoni verse, if you want to call it that, right? We know that there's a larger kind of story being told here, a la Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this feels very important that and they're wanting us to focus on the Underworld for some reason. I know we teased about Shadows of the Empire. I'm not really getting off here on a tangent, but Shadows of the Empire coming up. There's a whole piece of that where the Underworld kind of comes at the very end to kind of save everybody. So that's a possibility. I'm just excited. There's a lot of stuff here that we can really that this probably won't spawn, but we can certainly talk about.
Well, and we have to remember Rangers of the New Republic is a thing too, right? And that's where you could have this rub, right? If you've got the New Republic in some way, and I don't know if we have an actual timeline established for what that when that episode is supposed to be fitting in, but
Mm-hmm.
this is something where if you're talking about the Filoni verse, right, and the Favreau verse, yeah, whatever, all of these things could fit within that sphere, right? With Mando and
Yeah,
Boba and New Republic, and they could just start creating this timeline within,
a lot of
with yeah, within because we're talking about, Luke Skywalker stories are going to come out, right? That's a thing too in this time frame. So they're starting to really build out this between the end of Return of the Jedi and the First Order with Force Awakens, and it's going to get pretty interesting, and it's going to get perhaps a little crowded at times. So, but I think again, at least there's going to be some sort of cohesion to it all, much like we see with the High Republic. And I think this could be the on-screen version of all of that, while High Republic tends to stick with the literature side of things.
mm-hmm. Yeah, Mike asked a pretty good question here. He's known for one or two good ones. It says, not sure it's been said. Is this a little more mature than, say, The Mandalorian or normal Star Wars? I think it's going to be on. I think it's still going to be in the same vein as The Mandalorian. There were moments in The Mandalorian that were kind of like brutal and
Yeah.
grim at times, but it wasn't like the main theme, right? It wasn't episode after episode. There was levity to the episodes. There were certainly darker moments, even out of the gate in the very first episode where the guy gets cut in half. Of course, they don't
Right.
show all of that, but there were moments. There were certainly moments in both season 1 and season 2 of The Mandalorian that I thought were more mature without necessarily getting into the gore. I think that's probably going to hold true. I think we may see more of it only because you've got a character like Boba Fett who's much more ruthless, I think, than somebody like Din Djarin and as the Mandalorian.
Right.
And you've got half these episodes being directed by Robert Rodriguez, which I think that's just his natural nature, right? I mean, he is known for these very brutal sounds and shots and the violence. And I think he's shown if you go back and look at his movies, I'm a big fan of his. I think I've mentioned that. But if you go back and look at his movies, he's able to do a lot without showing you a lot, which I think is going to be a good thing, and I think it's going to play well for a character like Boba Fett, and certainly for this series. But what do you think? What are we going to get here?
Yeah, with the episode we got in Mandalorian that of course we all loved with Crazy Boba, and when we get a little bit in that trailer, I have a feeling that's probably only once or twice that we're going to get that type of Boba. I think what we might get though more often is what we had with the armor. Remember when the armor kicked ass?
Yeah.
Something like that, or like you said, the feel and the vibe we had from the first episode, that darker feeling, that the ominous type of feeling, and a lot of mood type of things that helps set up that. Yeah, that's kind of set up by the dialogue and really bring it out all together. But I don't think we're going to get a lot of super uber violence. It's still going to be PG-13, right? There's no chance it's going more than that. And I think with what they did with Robert Rodriguez's episode before is probably about as far as you can push it, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's not going to be a regular, but once, maybe twice over the course of the season. But I think otherwise it starts watering it down. I mean, do you want to see that week over week over week? I don't know if that's interesting over the long run.
Yeah. Okay, well let's get into this because there's again a lot to talk about, even though you may not think there is. So we're going to actually share the trailer. So we'll have it up as we kind of talk through it. I'll step through it here very slowly. And I mean, the first shot, I mean, my goodness, we talk about this. It seems like every freaking episode. We're back on Tatooine. We kind of knew this was going to happen just because it ended on Tatooine. So it was natural that we'd pick up here. But out of the gate, let's talk about the Bomar monks because, I mean, for anybody that follows Star Wars and knows the lore, seeing this little guy here come out is pretty exciting stuff. I know there's been some feedback and some talk about how janky the animation looks. Personally, I think they were just trying to mimic what we saw in
Right.
Return of the Jedi in that opening scene. I mean, they didn't have really. I mean, that would look like a a puppeteer that was kind of a
Right.
marionette type thing.
You're right. It barely touched the ground if you go watch Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked like it was just like hovering over it while it did it. But what I like about the Bomar monks, so not only do you get the call out to Return of the Jedi, but actually, if you remember, Bib Fortuna lived on as a Bomar monk,
Yes.
right?
In Legends,
In
right.
Legends, yeah, not in canon, in Legends. So it's kind of an Easter egg-ish, if you will, a deep cut for the Legends fans.
Yeah, I would like to see. I don't know if they're. So I would like for them to play a part in this story in some way. I don't know how you tie those two together. I think this really is truly just an Easter egg,
I
to be
think so,
honest.
too.
But the fact that these guys, and for anybody that doesn't know, these were monks that actually lived in this palace. So if you look in the background, Jabba's palace used to be the monastery.
Right.
And when Jabba came in, he kicked them all out, but he allowed them. Well, he took over the monastery, but he allowed them to live there, and so they were still allowed to live. And what they would do is they kind of ascended to this level of, I don't know, whatever. And they felt like they needed to have their brains removed so that they could live on in some heightened sense of, life, if you will. And that's why they have these spider robot things that walk around. So that's the whole story behind it. And of course, that's all legends.
I
But
can think of better ways to transcend, but all right.
yeah,
To
I mean,
ascend.
whatever floats your boat. But yeah, it would be cool to kind of see them kind of walking around through all of that. But
right.
Okay, so all right. Let's just talk about this.
We're not going to overanalyze the droid, are we?
No.
Oh, thank
but
goodness.
I want to talk about who created the droid. No, I'm
Oh
kidding.
my goodness.
No, I'm just joking. I'm joking. So look at Boba Fett though. Like he's looking pretty well compared to how he looked at the end of season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
And I think there's, I don't know if this is. I mean, you can see the scar on his eye, his right here, right next to his eye. That he was carrying that in the last season, but he doesn't have that pale,
The facial
poisoned.
scars, yeah.
I just crawled out of a Sarlacc pit look on his face. Now, granted, time has passed and he's probably healed up, but
I think
he
that's
does look
what
pretty good.
I think that's what that is in the background, actually.
Yeah. Well, no, and I'm with you. That's where I was going. Like to me, I look at that and I think, oh, that's like.
It's like a kind of a Bacta tank, or maybe not a tank, but some sort of
bed?
healing vault.
Yeah.
Like the oxygen chambers that the athletes go into to recover faster.
Right. Yeah. Maybe something that way. Or, it could be, he's from, maybe it's Kaminoan technology, right? That he's been carrying around or he's got access to, or he went back to Kamino and stole this health bed that he's been sleeping in.
Or Omega's right next to it, plugged into it, and he's sapping her to rejuvenate
DNA.
himself.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. That's
right.
Weird.
And what's her name? The researcher that got kidnapped.
Oh, Nala Se?
Yeah, Nala Se is off in the side there, helping take care of her children.
Maybe. No, but I'm with you. Like,
wow, you're not going to bite on that.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Man.
Like whatever, man. Everything's game at this point because we got nothing to work with here. So
but look at the attention to the detail in the armor. I love all the lights and it just looks great.
Does this look more worn in than it did after he repainted it? I didn't go back and look, but doesn't it look like it's worn in a little bit more? And that's fine.
Because
I get it.
It was a fresh coat when he was flying Slave One.
Like he just rolled out of Earl Shives when we saw it in the last Mandalorian.
Right.
That's an old reference. Nobody's going to get that one. But the dent in the helmet's there, obviously. Whether or not we get a kind of backstory on that, I don't know. We've talked about that to death. I don't know it's going to happen. I just don't see it happening.
I don't see why it would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it would, like there's ways you can get there. Yeah, with Cad Bane. Can
we talk about the robot though? The droid?
Fine. Let's do it.
I mean, it just, I don't know. If they show it, then my gut tells me we're going to see more of it. But maybe he's like the levity here. He's like
or he's the butler. Robot. I don't know.
Maybe it's just the butler.
The butler droid.
He's a smart droid. That's about it. So
right.
All right.
But I do like the idea that there's some sort of rejuvenation chamber or something back there that is helping him look a lot healthier than he did just, presumably a few months back.
Okay. So, and So in this scene right here, we get the voiceover that says, "I am not a bounty hunter," right?
Yeah.
And there's part of me that believes, okay, so if you look at this story from a perspective of The Godfather, I know everybody's been talking about that, and it's pretty clear to me that this is where they're going. Lucas himself has talked about Jabba being, there was inspiration from, The Godfather and his relationship with what's his name? The guy that did all the funding for his movies. Anyways, that's terrible. I don't remember his name, but nonetheless, there is some inspiration that comes from that. And if you think about the story of The Godfather, he was trying to bring all of the gangs together and decrease the amount of violence and all that. And it sounds like what he's doing is he sounds like he's saying those same things here, but there's a part of me that believes that there is no Boba Fett without conflict. You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
that's just in his nature. That's in his DNA. We've never seen anything different from him. Now, granted, in season 2 of The Mandalorian, I would say he was there was growth there. He was coming on. I mean, he was kind of like the anti-hero. He was definitely helping people when even though he didn't want to, he was begrudgingly helping people like the Mandos who were making fun of him because he was a clone and not really truly of Mandalorian. So do you think he's turned over a new leaf? Do you think this is how it starts? And by the end of the season, he just, he is who he is and he resurfaces as that bounty hunter, or at least that kind of, I don't know, spirit of the bounty hunter. Does that come out at some point?
I don't think that's what he wants. I mean, clearly it seems like he wants to, transcend into something else. He wants to be bigger than a bounty hunter. I think when you're a bounty hunter, if you think about what that actually means, a lot of people think it means you work for yourself. It's like, no, you have to go out there and hunt other people for an employer, right? You have a contract. You are always working for someone. You're not the one running the show. How you
Mhm.
do it you have some influence on that, but you really don't have any influence over your life in that regard as far as credits. And I think for Boba that this is something that we don't know what he's been doing since Return of the Jedi, surviving, what he's had to do to survive, and he's probably had a kind of enough of all of that. We saw as a bounty hunter in the comics just recently. We know he's still hard up for money. So all the things it's not all jollies and rainbows for Boba Fett just because you are Boba Fett. He still has the same problems everybody else does as a bounty hunter, maybe a few less because of the name, but so I think he really does just he wants to be the guy. He wants to run the show and he's tired of other people telling him what he can and can't do and what he's allowed to do and people backstabbing and double crossing him and having to consider this contractor, who does this person work for, and just do things his own way and do it himself. And I
No,
mean, and get other people to do it too for him. That clearly he makes that comment later, but he wants to be the guy.
yeah. And I would agree. Like, I mean, from a literal perspective, I don't think he's saying I truly believe that he's saying I'm no longer a bounty hunter. He wants to be a crime lord and
Yeah.
maybe you can't really be both. Right. But at the same time, I just wonder if he's going to have, like, how does he lose that desire for the kill and all that? Maybe it's money, or maybe it's the power
Well,
that
but
changes it
again,
there.
I don't think lose the desire for the kill. I think you do what you have to do to get the job done. And
Mm.
we know he's a cold-blooded killer. I mean, we've seen that pretty straightforward and pretty clear. But I think, but the difference is that, well, the thing about Boba is that he's always a bit of that a bit of honor to him. If he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it the right way. He's not going to turn tail. He's not going to bail on a contract. If something goes wrong with it and he can't deliver, he's going to find a way to do it. And he won't take, I mean, we saw in the comics just recently, we had talked about a couple weeks ago, where he refuses to take other bribes and
Right.
other rewards to do this, even though they would pay him far more. It's not about the money, it's about how you do it to get the money and about your credibility and again, it's about respect to him. And I think credibility and respect for Boba go hand in hand here.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, and I agree. Made me come around here. Okay, so we are shown this town, this village of some sort, right? And later on, we get this grandioso
Yeah.
cityscape.
This
That
kind of
I'm,
looks like it's probably that city though.
yeah, I would imagine. So this does not look like Tatooine to me. Maybe, I mean, it could be. Maybe they've cleaned up, or they have cleaned up. We know that a lot of cleanup has happened, but there is the
Has some
town.
of the same infrastructure feel to it
Well,
though.
yeah, and I mean that's
Oh,
probably
but
true, right?
do they have anything that's
Architecturally,
fancy? Probably not.
no, no, I would agree. I mean, architecturally, look, there's our Cantina Cast antenna.
Yeah.
There's no, I'm kidding. But the so
Please
what I
don't
was going to
sue
say
us.
is Yeah, Bestine, right? So Bestine is the town, the capital of, and the only reason I even remember that is because play Star Wars Galaxies, right?
Galaxies, yeah.
Yes, you could go to that town. It was not this big. First off, it wasn't as big as we see in this trailer, but that would be cool if they actually did show this capital city. Why Boba Fett's going here, I don't know. This could easily just be Mos Espa. It could be Tatooine. That's fine as well. It's really hard to say, but they're walking with a purpose. Everybody's staring at them, which, I mean, I guess, they don't look like the other people that are walking around. So that makes total sense unless something else has happened. But I do have a question for you about, well, no, you have a question for me, and I can't believe you threw this in here. Are we going to see Watto? That's your question. I would think
Hey, he likes the Nubian.
maybe we do. Like, well, how sad would that be? Like, we see a Watto that's, or maybe he's turned his life around.
Even more pathetic than he did.
No, see, I don't want him to be more, like him being on the street begging. Like, you just, the camera pans over and you see him with a little tin cup.
I mean, you saw how old he looked in Attack of the Clones. Imagine what he looks like these days.
Yeah, he's missing teeth. He's not flying anymore. He can't fly. He's just laying there with a little tin cup, slamming it down.
Little Lenny.
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to see Watto. So Watto is dead, man. That's what Mike says.
Oh,
I don't really want to say.
Did you see a body?
Tim Calvert says Boba Fett, small business owner.
I like it. That's right, entrepreneur.
Yep, making his.
He's the next Jeff Bezos.
Maybe, you never know. All right, let's move on. Okay, not a lot here going on. They're walking in. Okay,
so what do you think this is inside that the building there, the Capitol? I mean, it kind of seems like it, fits that the architecture style here.
It does, and I know I've seen people talk about this being a crime lord or some big boss crime lord. I don't know that it is. It looks too nice. I mean, not to say that crime lords and don't like nice things or nice fine linens and stuff, but I don't know. This to me, this feels more regal, like a mayor or a magistrate of some sort. You know,
political
what I mean?
Figure,
yeah, a political figure of some sort. Because you've got Boba Fett coming into town. He's trying to corrupt from the inside out, right? He's trying to get to these guys and let them know, hey, I'm here and I'm going to offer you protection or whatever he's trying to do. But it could very well be a crime boss as well. I just don't know that he'd be out here in the middle of a city like this if these two scenes are tied together in that way.
Right. But then
what
again,
about the voice.
But then again, people knew who Jabba was, and they knew exactly where he was. But the voice though was very interesting though, because I'm with you. This sounded exactly like Pedro Pascal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it did. I went back and played it over and over again.
It didn't
exactly sound any
like
different.
Pascal.
Now, if you put the subtitles on, it just says Alien 1 or something like that.
Right.
So could it be this guy? I don't know. We didn't. The only reason I don't think it's.
You can hear a little bit of the voice before the translator comes on, though.
Did you? Okay, I didn't hear that.
If you crank it up, I think you can hear just a little bit, like the speech happens before the the voiceover. Now they could be completely unrelated though too, but it seemed like it was in line with some of that. But it seemed like there may have been two different voices here though too.
Mm. Well, I don't know that they would. They have no reason to kind of throw us off with this, to be honest. So
right,
we're probably seeing too much into it. But
that's a sick chair though.
This is a sick character. I love the way this Ithorian looks. He looks very clean too, compared to like the other Ithorians we've seen. Like,
Alfonso,
Alfonso, right? And
maybe this is what Alfonso was doing before, after Bad Batch.
No, you're getting silly now. Okay,
don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so here's the
big city. This is
and
really
again,
cool.
you can see the cliff, so this does look a lot like what we were on the ground level at. We have some really interesting spires, though.
Yep. This does not look like Tatooine, right?
It does not. That looks a lot bigger than anything that we've ever seen on Tatooine.
No, and it's bigger than Mos Espa. Well, I don't know. We haven't really seen Mos Espa in canon, anyways.
Again, Bestine was a capital city, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, I mean, this could be that interpretation of it. The video game was basically a building and a brick road, effectively, right? So it wasn't a lot to it 25 years ago, whenever the game came out, but still, it is pretty interesting. Actually, it looks like Lord of the Rings, like with the the carving through the trench there through the canyon.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
where like the
Yeah.
two statues stand outside when they're on the boats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, this is whatever this town is. It's pretty darn enormous. So
It's
I
on
haven't
yeah,
had a
it's on
chance to go
both
back and.
levels, top and bottom.
Yeah. No, you're right. Very cool design.
Yeah.
Okay, we get a shot of the throne itself. This is the one that Boba was sitting in. Poor Rancor heads sitting on the side there. You can't really see them. I think they're probably washed out. But
But who's
um,
but this wasn't Jabba's throne though, right?
no. I don't think so. No.
So I guess
Well, he
did
didn't fit in. He wouldn't have
Boba
fit in
well,
this.
right.
But
I mean, so did Bib Fortuna refashion the throne a bit? I mean, it's got the similar design elements that we had with Boba's sled, or what was it? What's a toy call it? What
what?
he sat on, his dais, basically.
Oh,
I don't know.
for Jabba?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Well,
Bet
he had little
of
Rancors
a
on.
bed of lies. How about
Yeah.
that?
Right. I wonder if that's Moochie though.
Okay, so fine. Are we going to see Moochie in this?
Let's do it. Let's rip the Band-Aid off.
Are we
It's
going
all
to see
Moochie all the
Moochie?
time. Yeah. Well, we got a Menagerie name drop, so why not? Probably not. I know Katya said that she was glad she didn't see a Rancor in this, which I'm kind of okay with that too. We got to move past what Jabba did and what he had, but I do think it would be kind of cool. Again, we have to think about this is several years after Return of the Jedi, right? So Jabba's been gone for a while.
Yeah,
It would
5,
be
6
kind of
years.
it would be kind of cool though to see the remnants of one of those animals, or maybe one a bit starved or very emaciated or something. I mean, I'm not into cruelty for animals or anything like that. You see the effects of time and the lack of organization and care that Bib Fortuna had, or just what happens when an empire crumbles when the Hutt Empire is completely extinguished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's still a cool throne, and Boba looks
Yeah, I
great
think
in
it is. We get another voiceover here from that same alien. Says, "I know you sit on the throne of your former employer." Obviously, he's talking about Jabba the Hutt, and then we get the Jabba ruled with fear is kind of what he's saying here.
right.
And this is again that turning point where we like you said earlier, he's trying to do things differently. He's trying to rule with respect. He says, "I intend to rule with respect." We're kind of jumping ahead, but going back to Moochie though, I think we are like even if it's just in passing or they make mention of it or whatever else, it just feels like
I don't think
that
Filoni can help himself.
well, and that episode of the Bad Batch, right? That one, like it did feel like it stuck out like a sore thumb. Like, why was it in there? You know what I mean? Why did they have to show Bib Fortuna of all people show up to pick up Moochie? You know what I mean? It's like, okay, what's going on here? So, maybe this is that
All
was a hard
setting up-
lead in.
All setting up Boba Fett.
It's a hard lead in. All right, we got a big standoff here. I'm assuming this is all, they tend to trick us with splicing footage together, but this one does feel like it's related in some way.
Right.
I don't know who these guys are. Like if they look, are they local enforcement? Are they a local? I tried to look at a little bit later. Let's see let me fast forward to this scene here. Like I was trying to match up their costumes.
Yeah, I don't see
none
any
of these
humans there though.
Yeah, they're not humans, and they don't look like they fit in line with the same kind of costumes, or uniforms, if you will, right?
Right.
So I can't tell who these guys are. Again, if they're local authority of some sort, or if they're, because this looks like the background of that Ithorian, right? You see here.
Yep.
So I don't know. Are these the good guys? Are they the bad guys? Good questions.
But he's got Gomorians though behind him.
Well,
that
no,
looks
this
like
is, so. This is Boba. I think that's Boba's Gamorreans because they show him a couple scenes in here where he and
Right.
Fennec are walking around with these two thugs in the background that are just following him like puppies.
well, and the structure of that door, like the angular nature of it, does remind you of the cells, like what Han was in, I think. But yeah, I think this is a bit spliced. But regardless, I mean, these guys are probably not around for much longer, so we don't have to worry too much about them. I mean, he's got that little curl on his hair with a part. He's as good of a dead man.
I was gonna make fun of the way he's holding his rifle.
Yeah,
Like what kind of rifle is that?
it looks like a pea shooter is what it
I was
looks
say
like.
it looks like a Daisy 5120
Yeah,
shoots pellets.
Yeah,
And then look
it's
at Fennec Shan's.
Yeah, I know. That's not a knife. That's
That's
a
a-
knife. Yeah.
Yeah. But all right. Well, I don't know. These guys I think they're definitely related to the Ithorian in some way. I just don't know how yet.
Yeah.
This is where he's removing the helmet and says, I tend to rule with respect. This is an interesting look that she has here. Look at that. She's looking over him, and she just looks away and back ahead.
Yeah.
Who knows
Yep.
what's going on there?
But yeah, you made a note in the comments though. We do see a lot of Boba without a helmet. You know, is that
Mm.
bothersome or worrisome to you at all, or is it no? We really just need to see his face.
Yeah, I think it's maybe it's establishing this whole he doesn't wear a helmet in the first episode, and then you know if you think about it over the course of 8 episodes, he's probably going to wear the helmet more than he doesn't, even if it's 50-50, even if it's not. Maybe
Yeah.
it's 70-30 in favor of him not wearing the helmet. I think that's totally fine. It just really depends on what he's doing, right? If he's sitting there holding these, diplomatic meetings to trying to bring crime lords together and all that, I don't know that he's going to wear the helmet. Now, when he's out and about and he's on a mission, he's probably going to wear it. So I think it's just practical. I think what we're used to, though, is we grew up with Boba Fett always had his helmet on, and that's just the character. And I don't think it's pragmatic to think that's going to be the case, especially since he's trying to be a different person now, right? At least if we take him at face value here.
Right.
No pun intended.
Yep. Oh, I mean, we already know there was some bad blood between the actual traditional Mandalorians and him anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah,
There's somebody walking up here. I don't know that it's
Yeah, it's like-
somebody or
yeah.
something, or
yeah, like a lone person in the desert walking up to Jabba's palace.
it's
Who
3PO.
knows? Yeah, that doesn't make sense. It's 3PO. Yeah, you're still wandering the desert lost.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to what you want to talk about, the hot Trandoshan.
Oh yeah, look at those jewelries. Look at those eyes.
She's kind of pretty though, compared to the other guys. I mean, this guy looks like Skier, as
He does
ugly
look
as
like
you can
Skier.
get. You know what I mean?
Oh, the guy in the back does. The back.
Oh,
like,
this
right-
back here?
Yeah, that's scary right there.
Yeah, either one. But
What,
he
you
looks
saying they all
really
look alike?
uncomfortable.
Man, you are insensitive.
Yeah. Well, you've seen one Trandoshan.
You got some Clapwinians.
Yeah. So these are all Jabba's former captains, is what they
Associates.
said, right?
Yeah.
I think captains is the word they used. The Clatoonians. What was the one? It was I put it in the notes. Barada.
Barada, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the guy
I
that
can't remember what
shoved-
did he die? He died though, didn't he fall into the Sarlacc?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
he was the
it's-
one that shoved Luke into the. Was it? Was that him or no? He was behind him. Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty sure he got shoved into the Starlight Pit.
Yeah. But
No
these
one
are
survived. No one survived that skiff. Let's just put it that way.
well, in Legends, everybody survived, but
Oh boy. Well,
um
good thing we don't have legends.
so yeah, there's and then we've got these oh man, these guys are so ugly, the Aqualish.
Yeah.
Very reminiscent of how they looked in Mandalorian.
Yep.
In was it season 2?
Yeah. I mean, and the Trandoshans look very consistent with what they were in Mandalorian season 1 as well.
That's very true,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think when we first saw them, they looked so different from Bosk that we were kind of like, "Whoa, this is different." But
Yeah. But Bosk
At
was
least
pretty
there's-
slimy though,
yeah,
in a good
pretty
way.
consistent. That's because that suit didn't breathe.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just really didn't. So
Right.
there's those two. These guys, I hope they have names. The Gamorrean guards.
Well, if they
that
come
are
out with
standing
action figures, they will.
there. Yeah, they will. This was a cool shot here. Like I like the fact that Jabba had, we've always seen the palace and the tower, but that he had a point of, this particular.
You think that is
part
the
of
top
it.
of his tower?
I think so. Yeah.
'Cause, I mean,
Why
it's
not?
like got curtains and fine. It
Well,
seems like
this
a
is
fine.
this isn't Jabba. This is Bib Fortuna, classing up the joint, right?
Okay. Yeah.
If it was Jabba, yeah, there's probably just slime everywhere and feces and whatever else. But I think this is
Half-eaten
could be it.
frogs.
Although I don't know now they say that because back here, and you're not going to be able to see it on the screen, but you can kind of see it looks like another building like right next to it at the
Right.
same height, and that's not how Jabba's palace is set up.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, it looks way too nice because this is the same room. You can see the curtains. This is the same room we had at the very beginning of it with the
Mhm.
with the droid and the whatever the potential healing unit is. So it does not seem like something at Jabba's palace. It doesn't really fit the motif, if you will. And I don't
Could
remember there
this-
being. I mean, it just seems too tall. It's too much height to this from the from the dome part.
Is that a carbonite chamber thing?
I
Man, now I'm really starting to see. You see the
Yeah, it certainly has that appearance to like an upside down carbonite. It could just be a holographic table though too. We've seen those
All
as
right.
well.
All right, I'm gonna knock it off. I'm getting too excited about stuff that I know is not there.
Right.
Quickly, we get this one shot of the Sand People.
Yeah.
All right.
This is a pretty slick place for a Chinese star type of thing in the butt of her rifle. or like a knife, hidden knife that Fennec Shan's got here.
Oh, that little dagger thing she pulls out.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's a great shot of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a knife.
It's a throwing knife. It looks like a throwing knife of some
Yeah,
sort.
more like a scalpel. But yeah, pretty cool. I like that. It's a nice hiding place. I have to remember that.
Yep. I want to talk about this though.
Oh, with the
Again,
Tuscans.
well,
Yep.
yeah, because there's a big part of me that really wants to know how the heck he got out of the Sarlacc pit. And
Yeah.
are we going to get flashbacks here? Is this a flashback? Is this is this in kind of happening in real time as the episode's playing on or not? What do you think? And do you think, given that we're getting something called the Book of Boba Fett, although we may not get a whole lot of origin stuff, prior to the Sarlacc pit, and all that time that transpired during that, it feels like we're at least going. I hope at least that we're going to get the background on how he got out. Maybe it's in this scene here where he's sitting there talking to Fennec Shan. He's telling her everything he's been through and how he got to where he is, and maybe this is his tower. Maybe this is his place that he was, living or whatever. But do you think we're going to get that backstory and get to finally hear how he got out of the Sarlacc pit?
I would really hope so. And what I would also like is that we get a little bit of the Tusken Raider lore as well, just a little bit of the history of the culture, and that it fits, it kind of intertwines with all of that, with what Boba experienced and that he learned the ways. I also like the general idea though that like Din Djarin and the Mandalorians in general have some sort of mutual kinship or mutual respect with the Tuscans for some reason. And I would really love to see that's a thing, and that there is some, there's, yeah, it's the reason why they're not necessarily allies, but they're not enemies either. And I would really like to see that there's something there, because I mean, clearly Din Djarin knew how to sign language with them and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe Boba does as well. And again, I think we will probably get some idea of how he got out of the Sarlacc, although I don't think we're going to get everything that we want for the entire story.
Yeah. So when we first speculated that Boba Fett would be alive, we went into this whole thing that sounded like cockamamia conspiracy theories about how the Sand People rescued him, they nurtured him, they brought him back, and that's how he, that's why we see him at the very end of what was it, season 1,
Yeah.
with the gaffy sticks and all of that. That was one theory, and I'm still 100% all in on that theory. Like, that is, to me, the fact that Boba Fett, that some of his character transformation came as a result of that, right? Being humbled, or at least living among the Sand People and being in a different type of environment, that changed him in a lot of ways. And it maybe brought him out of, being the scared little boy, the pest that we saw in the Clone Wars, and in Rebels. Was it Rebels? Yeah.
Yeah.
So seeing that kind of having a big impact on his life, that's one theory. The other theory is that he just brutally went out and killed Sand People and took their gaffy sticks and their rifles, and
They're
was
coming for retribution.
Yeah, coming for retribution. So
They've got their crate. They've got their crate dragon behind them.
Yeah, and I guess both theories were out there. I think for me, I'm more cemented now, having seen where this is going and how his character is here, that he was rescued and lived among them as opposed to went against them. And I think that would bode well for him too. Like, I mean, he's going to be making alliances. Not only is he going to be, trying to get everybody to buy in the crime syndicate to kind of get behind him, but he's also got these savages that are behind him as well. So he's making allies all over the place. But where would you I guess throw him in, or what theory would you like to subscribe to, or do you have a different one here?
No, yeah, I think we're gonna get this. Well, in my head, with when Jabba's skiffs and everything started blowing up and doing, I think something like that injured the Sarlacc, and I have a feeling the Tuscans were nearby and they wanted to, kind of like what they did with the Krayt Dragon. They want to, take the parts of it, right? They want to, I don't know, do whatever they do with it. Between Jawas and Tuscans, you never know what kind of weird thing that they do with some ritual. But I like the idea that the skiff somehow hurt the Sarlacc to where they were actually able to kill it. And this is where, Boba was actually not quite getting processed yet. He wasn't quite doing his 1,000 years of pain and suffering. And so they were able to pull him out as they were extracting all the goodies from the Sarlacc.
Mm-hmm.
So I think something like that. And then, yeah, why they would take him in though, I don't know. We don't know enough about the Tuscan culture to understand how people come into that culture. Or do they allow external people? Do they allow outsiders? They don't seem to like them, but every once in a while we seem to have some sort of they're not the savage beasts that they were portrayed to be in A New Hope. And so I think there's always some realm of possibility we could go down that road.
Yeah. Well, it's cool. I hope we do get more of them and get more insight into that culture, because I do think it's pretty cool. There's a part of me that really wants her to be like freeing some kind of, one of the slaves that, like this is early on, and there's some slave Twi'lek that comes up and she whips this knife out and breaks her bonds or something to let you go. But she looks
Right, because
kind
she's
of
up,
bad.
yeah, because she's up on the throne,
Yeah.
and it seems like she's teaching someone a lesson.
Yeah, she looks a little bad, but again, more headcanon for me. Here's the thugs again, the 2 Gamorrean guards in the background. It looks like they're just making their way through the city, making the rounds, talking to people here and there.
Right.
But this was really interesting. So this is, the fact that so when the trailer came out, I didn't really notice it, and I'm not going to call credit because I didn't recognize her at first. But this is Jessica Biel, who is,
Oh,
she's
really?
she's done a number of things now, but the only thing that I truly love her for is 1983's Flashdance, right?
Oh boy.
And this is her standing here at this Twi'lek. So when you see this now I'm thinking about this. Okay, so when I first saw, okay, they held on this shot for a long time, right? And these guys stand out. You can just color wise, right? This all kind of signals that something's going on here with these 2 characters.
Right.
Maybe not the girl, the yellow Twi'lek, but I'm starting to wonder now, like if are they going to go after, was she a former dancer for Jabba or a former dancer for Bib Fortuna? And I beyond that, I don't know.
Maybe
It's pure speculation.
It was Bib's lady.
Maybe it was. Oh, really? No.
Right.
That's just gross. Way to ruin it for me.
It's pretty cliche, but yeah.
Yeah. But no,
Certainly,
this is definitely a character, and she's now in the credits, and I think it's official now that they've announced her as of yesterday that she is in the in the Book of Boba. So it does seem like she's going to play a
doesn't
prominent
look like her
character.
at all. That's crazy. I still don't see it.
Yeah, it's her.
But I haven't seen Jessica Biel in a long time though either.
No, not Jessica. Not Jessica
TV?
Biel. Jessica
Oh.
Biel's.
Biel's.
Yeah, Beals.
There's more than one of them?
Yeah. The other,
Oh.
you're talking about Jessica Biel. I think it's Beil.
Biel, yeah.
No, this
is like a 90s or early 2000s star or something.
I like that you say, I'm sorry. Look, and now Katya is saying, oh my God, Jessica Biel, can't believe it. No, sorry. It's not Jessica Biel. It's Jessica Biel's. All right. Do I need to pull this up? You want to pull up Flashdance?
Please don't.
We can watch the trailer. I can
see. So the yellow Twi'lek seems to be reporting back to her and giving her some sort of secret information here, though. Thank you, Katya, for spelling it out for us. Beals, correct.
Yeah. I was going to start singing Flashdance, but I'll save you guys.
You would be the only one listening. Wow, why did our viewers
look? All the viewers are dropping off. What's going on? I don't understand what's happening here. Okay, so no, Jessica Biel's is who's playing this character, and she's, I don't know, she's obviously an older lady. She's about 10 years older than me, so like 28. Okay, we get a quick shot of the Slave One fire spray. I don't know, whatever it's going to be called this series.
You just like going back and forth of it, like panning, don't you?
Back and to the left. Back and to the left. And then we get this guy, the Klatooinian,
there you go.
getting mad. And so here's where we get a couple of lines. So there's a couple of lines that are being said here, or over what are we saying here? Why speak of conflict when cooperation can make us all rich? We get that line. We've talked about that. Does sound like he's bringing everybody in, trying to bring everybody in. And then this dude fires back, what prevents us from killing you and taking what we want? Right. Which is a very fair question. I mean, who is he? You know what I mean? Like, how is he going to establish, just because he killed Bib Fortuna, is that enough?
Well, again, we know more. We know more than what people have seen in the TV and seen in the movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have seen Boba recently in War of the Bounty Hunters, and I know comics you really can't put a whole lot of stock into, but he would have taken on everybody in Bib Fortuna's palace while Jabba was away. He would have taken every single one of them out and killed all of them. So I have no doubt that Boba was like, I'll take these odds. And yeah, I might die in the process, but more of you clowns are going to die than, that's going to be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So which of you are prepared to die for this clown right here? And that was really what he posed to Bib. And so that's just the way that he thinks and the way that he's going to proposition this stuff. But again, it's one of those things of why do we have to fight if there's so much on the table? Let's make the pie bigger rather than try to slice up the smaller pie, right? And I think that's the angle that Boba's trying to get these guys to recognize is that you don't have to just steal and hurt each other in the process. Why can't we just build the big giant pie and we all get huge slices of all of that?
Mm-hmm.
But again,
yeah.
but I mean, you're not going to kill Boba Fett. I mean, he's like, do you know who I am? Do you know what this armor represents? And it's difficult to say if the next lines from Fennec Shan really, fit into this because it seems like it could, but at the same time, it does not really feel like it does.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, not to jump ahead, but the way she's standing there and the fact that they're like they're
But
obviously
sitting at
sitting
the
down having
table
dinner.
here.
Yeah. And that line is being said. We'll get to that here in a minute. Here, to me, this speaks of okay. These guys all walked in. The captains walked in, and this is their first interaction here, right? And she utters this line of he would have fed you to his menagerie.
Right.
That, I think that's where this line happens. And then later on, we get this scene where they're sitting down and trying to have some kind of peaceful negotiations, kind of talk, right?
Right.
Breaking bread, mafia style. So there's something else I was going to add into that, but I'll save it. All right, let's get to Helmet Gate. Tell us what's going on here because you brought her up.
Yeah, this is with the helmet. It spills the coins out, which are actually the credits are kind of cool because I gave a great shot right there. Actually, just moved it. You can actually see these are Rebel Alliance credits, which is a really interesting touch because we know they're in this weird timeline about what money is actually good. But yeah, the inside of this helmet is very bland. Yeah, it seems very much like a prop type of helmet, and so some people are a bit bent out of shape that this is Boba's helmet. I have a feeling this is a decoy or something like that. This can't be a legit Boba helmet here. But I
Does
mean,
it
he's in
have
the
a-
middle there. I mean, yeah, so his helmet kind of flew off, but
No, it's got the dent in it.
yeah.
It's got it. I can see it. You may not be able
But
to
why
see it
would it have
again.
coins in it? I mean, that's the question. Like, why would he have his helmet full of credits?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so a couple things from this. One, the helmet rolling. The first time I saw it, I'm like, oh, poor Jango Fett, right? It's like reminiscent of him losing his head. That said, we talked about these Republic credits may not be any good. Maybe they've rounded them up because they don't want the currency there. Or they're trying to get rid of the currency. I don't know. I don't understand why he would collect these.
He's the tax man now.
Yeah, maybe he's a taxman. Or maybe this was what Watto was collecting his coins in. He found that helmet and he was no, I don't know. I have no idea why the coins are in there. Like that's the most bizarre thing. I don't really care, and yet I do about the helmet itself. It does seem pretty thin. Like it feels like if you just put that on, it just kind of would wobble around, and that doesn't happen. I would expect it to be a little bit more, but I mean, come on.
That's why I'm thinking. There's got to be something else to the helmet. That this isn't the helmet that Boba wears all the time. If that makes sense.
It's got the dent right there. You can see it.
Yeah, but okay. But it has like nothing in it. Like it literally has nothing inside of it. So
it's got
and
coins,
but they can't be that sloppy. Is my point, right? They can't be that sloppy as to not think that people would stare at this thing and give them all sorts of hell about it, right? Because that would just be sloppy.
Maybe this is where his life savings are, and the helmet got knocked off and it spilled out.
He had a little pouch in there, like when you used to go to the water park and you had the little pouch. You'd like squeeze it, and the coins fit in the slot.
Or I had shoes. What was it? The Roos, kangaroos. You remember those shoes that had a little zipper on the side? You could put your coins in there or whatever.
Yep. Now we're gonna start talking about fanny packs here in a minute. Let's keep going.
Okay. Yeah. Again, dating ourselves. There seems to be some like the Sharks and Jets are going at it here. There's like a rumble going on.
Right.
Those shields.
Yeah, they look like ray shields.
Ray shields, yeah. Like literally ray shields.
Yeah, like on their wrists. So where Boba has his gauntlets, that he has rockets and everything else, these guys have portable shields. Pretty neat looking.
And that weapon that he's got there, like I haven't had a chance to go back and look, but didn't one of the Knights of Ren carry something similar?
But we never saw it electrically charged, I don't think.
Right. But I mean, just the
something
look
similar
of it, though. Yeah, and I'm not saying this is the Knights of Ren. There you go.
In their cloth suits. Right?
Yep. This is.
But again, these guys look like the other guy you were talking about earlier, though, that was holding the gun all funny.
Yeah, yeah,
Same, they look like the same type of outfits, but these guys have some sort of mask on too. Like, yeah, like right there, it looks like Mortal Kombat type things,
yeah. Scorpion.
or oh, what was it? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah, the ninjas.
Oh, the Foot
Foot
Clan.
Clan. There you go, Foot Clan.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've managed to work in TMNT into this one, so.
That's right.
Yeah, this looks cool. I mean, and then this is that shot I was talking about. This is all Robert Rodriguez right here. Boom, that. And
Yep.
then, I mean, look at Tamara Morrison. Has just got that crazy look in his eye.
That is quite the look.
Yeah, and then he gets you get it again right here.
Oh, and
In
you get
fact,
the
his head's
splat. Yeah, look
yeah.
at those eyes, man. Wow.
There you go. There's a good one. Yeah, it's like it's the haka thing. You know, when have you seen the video of him doing that haka dance or the whatever the tradition that they do?
Yeah.
The
Yep.
Maui one? Yeah. And he's got this same look in his eye when he's doing it, which I mean, it's part of it, right? It's part of that. You just kind of have to have that crazy look in your eye when you're doing it. And he's echoing this. So I love the fact that they're letting him kind of let loose on some of this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, that's brutal though, because you get the splat too. The ugh.
Yep. Oh boy. Yeah. I called it the haka slash.
Haka slash.
And then Sean says here, if he had spoken in such insolence to Jabba, he'd fed you to his menagerie. So again, I thought this was like the pre-dinner conversation. But I like the fact that she's answering. Boba Fett's just still sitting there. He's got his hands up on the throne,
That's right.
just chilling. What's her gain? Like, what does she have to gain from all this?
Well, she owes him a life debt, right? I mean, she's got the robot
Is that what?
innards. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
That's
She
true.
owes him her life, and so she's with him till the end, I suppose.
Yeah, no, you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I was trying to think, like, what does she get? Like, she seems to be really supportive of Boba Fett, and really, she doesn't have that. At least, unless there's something we don't know, they could have well hung out together prior to this. We don't know, but
I didn't see you wink. Right? No,
maybe.
I don't think there's any relationship thing going on here or anything like that. But yeah, I think also she knows a good thing when she sees it, and she'll do this for a while. And if it satisfies her debt, and he releases her from that service, then cool. She'll probably move on her own way. But this isn't the worst gig in the world,
Mm-hmm.
teaming up with the baddest, bounty hunter in the galaxy, and you've got a chance to reshape everything in the whole underworld to your liking, and you can be, the first in command, after the big boss. I mean, it's not a bad gig. And he seems to have the utmost confidence in everything that she does.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. The other part. So I remember what I was going to say earlier too. Is there is the empire is gone, right? It's been gone now for a number of years. The Rebel Alliance is quote a joke. People are talking about the Rebel Alliance, but the
New Republic, right?
New Republic, right? They're quote a joke. So I mean, it feels like that would be a big selling point for Jabba, or for Boba to be saying, let's not fighting, right? We could easily take advantage of the vacuum that exists and be a significant force in the galaxy, because there's a huge gaping hole right now.
And there
Which I
has
think
been
would
for
be
a
attractive.
while. Yeah, it has
Yeah,
been for
no,
a while. This is 6 or 7 years after,
right.
the fall of Jabba, basically. And it's again, you put it right. You said it perfectly. This the underworld is still in chaos. None of them seem to have any kind of organization, know what to do with it all. It's just everybody's grab happy, and they're trying to just grab their little piece of it without any kind of organization, and they're doing themselves more harm than good at this point.
Hmm. I kept focusing on this because he's putting down a blaster. This guy's got holding a blaster, and he's kind of telling him to
Right?
put your
Lower it.
blaster down. Yeah, lower it. His last line here is, "Please speak freely," which I think that I think he genuinely means it. Like, right. If he's putting himself out there as, hey, everything's fair game. This is all about respect. I'm not going to just put you down because I don't agree with what you say. You can speak. You can say whatever you want. Do whatever you well, not maybe do whatever you want, but you can certainly say whatever you want. And I think that's a good way to approach all of this, right? I mean, Jabba never ruled that way. And if these guys do have a legitimate voice and there's enough to go around, then listen to them, right? Bring them in as allies and give them what they need. And as long as they're all kind of cooperating and paying their dues and all of that, I mean, it's like what Jabba said, or what Boba said. Uh, let's not fight about this.
Right, but at the end of the day, do you really expect him to be any different than Jabba if someone were to betray him? No. You
No,
don't. Let me answer for you. No, you don't.
right. No, I would agree. He's going to go after them.
Yeah. Because I mean,
How
that's
he goes
that's why.
about it, though, I think is different. Maybe.
Well, I don't. I honestly don't know. Maybe he won't be. You fail me and you get the Vader choke or something like that. But I I don't know if you betray him though. I think Boba's done with you and you pay the price. No different than Jabba. And that's the thing. I mean, you can have all of these ambitions, but are you really going to be any different than what you had previously to that? Because
Mm.
Jabba probably thought that he was pretty fair too, and that he made all these great deals with people, and they were all, you know, he had a very symbiotic relationship with the Empire, right? And that's the thing that Job always banked on, that they're a very important customer, and we're important to them too. But it rubs people. You can't have it all, and I think Bo is probably at some point going to learn that lesson that you can't have everything you want, and it's not all going to be perfect for you.
Well, that's how it ends. We get the logo, Star Wars, the Book of Boba. And if you listen closely at the very end, you can kind of hear Slave One trailing off, the sound of Slave One trailing off, which is,
Speaking of sound, we were talking a little bit before we came on about music. And what were your initial impressions about the music?
it was okay. I mean, it was a lot of what we remember from Mandalorian. Those tones were there. I don't know if this is a fair shake. Is it, who's the guy doing the music? Is it, what's his name?
Bjorn, yeah.
Bjorn Gorgensen or whatever his name
Yeah,
is.
I think so. Yeah, it's the same person doing it. But
Yeah.
it didn't have that same catch that we had with I think the first Mandalorian teaser that we got though.
Yeah, I would agree. I have a feeling it's going to have. I mean, that guy's pretty talented.
Oh
I've
yeah.
had a chance to go back and listen to some of the other stuff he's done, and I pretty safe to say that he's going to expand upon the main theme itself and come up with other cool themes and all of that. But this trailer was less than 2 minutes and didn't really cover a whole lot, didn't show us a whole lot. So I wouldn't expect him to kind of give us a lot of the new music that's been created. That
Yeah,
said,
Katya is bringing it out tonight. Ludwig Göransson. There you
what did I say? I
go.
didn't say that. I was kidding.
Bjorn.
I
Bjorn.
said
I don't know.
Bjorn.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Thank you, Katya.
Yeah, so I would expect them to. Now we'll probably get another trailer here in probably end of maybe early December. I would expect no later than mid-December.
Yeah.
But I think in that I would expect us to hear something new, some of the new music. But I think it was fine. I mean, at the very end, it kind of comes in and it's all recognizable and all that. So
Right. At the end, we do very much get the type of music and the vibe that we would expect to have. And again,
yep,
you always have to take the music with teasers and trailers a bit with a grain of salt, especially with movies, right? We had this with Solo. We had a soundtrack that never existed, right?
mhm,
with what they played in that trailer,
yeah,
and we've had similar of it with even with the saga movies. There has been music in the trailers that is nowhere to be seen on the soundtrack,
right,
and it wasn't even written by the composer of the soundtrack. So these aren't uncommon things. So you can't get too much into it. But I think the underlying vibe was okay, really strong at the end. But it was again, I think there was some of it. They were trying to get the visuals out there, try to get some of this dialogue going, and get people a bit hooked on what the general idea of the story is going to be, less so than a huge action-packed type of thing. You get a little
yeah,
sprinkle of it, but we're not going to give all that to you because I'm with you, like you said at the beginning of the show. I think this is at most or at worst the first two episodes, and that's probably about it. And then that's all they've shown us. And that's again, we see that again with every single show.
yeah,
Most of the things we get are the first two episodes because that's what they've cut and put together, and those are the most finished, and
yeah,
they're probably still
readily
wrapping a few things
available.
up. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
they've had the most time to work on that stuff.
for sure.
But still,
Okay.
promising start. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm, again, were we not going to watch this? No.
No.
So it's good to have. You had one final question, and I'll entertain the question.
Right. So, what are the odds that we see if we have the alpha? Will we see the omega?
Will we see the Omega?
Omega.
Omega. If we see Omega, it's going to be at the very end. And how we get there, I don't know. I think we'll probably get to some of that as we talk about in the Patreon episode when we talk about the titles of the episodes. Maybe there's something in there that we can kind of tease out as being, what leads to it in some way. I have no idea. But again, how we get there, I don't know, because this does seem to be very underworld centric in terms of where it's going. And the only thing, maybe didn't I have some cockamania theory that she was living in the underworld and she escaped there because I forget
Yeah, I
what the
think
hell it
so.
was now. Yeah, so I don't know.
It's hard to
That
keep
would
track of
be
them all. You need to catalog them properly.
I don't. I need to start. Yeah, I need like a Dewey Decimal System of some sort to keep track of all of these.
Right, and I guess the question I'd have, and I think this is always the question when you start to transcend medium, right? If Omega shows up, do enough people care about who, like, are they like, who the hell is Omega?
Hmm.
Do the people even, does it strike the right chord if you bring her in? Because is that really that big of a climax, if you will, for or a cliffhanger for a character that, how many people watched Bad Batch? And especially how many people watched it far enough into it that weren't really core Star Wars fans, or kind of harder core Star Wars fans, to know who she is and what the background is and what enough about the character to really appreciate what this could mean for a series like this.
Yeah, and I agree. Um, there's also, if they're following this whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, introducing this character, although it'd be cool as a reference, if as long as they've got some bigger plan for her down the road where she plays into all of this and that's what makes her significant, I think that would be okay too. I don't think it's going to be a draw. I think the story is the story that we're seeing, right? It's him bringing the underworld together and being a crime boss. I think that's the story. Now, do we get other pieces like Omega that are introduced in some way that are ancillary that do kind of support this story, but then are the building blocks for the larger holistic story that they're trying to tell? That would be really cool. I'd be in on that. And you wouldn't have to necessarily be a fan of Book of Boba or even know who Omega, or sorry, a fan of Bad Batch or know who Omega is to appreciate it, as long as you stuck with it for the larger story that they're trying to tell and get to see how she plays her part in all of that.
Yeah, and I like the idea that maybe we don't see Omega, maybe she's not a part of the story, but maybe we do get allusions to her. Fennec Shand, of course, knew her,
Hmm.
was going after her, somewhat cared for her, at least as much as the job was paying her to in that regard, I guess. But again, do we have something to where Fennec Shand has put 2 and 2 together? And is there anything else to that as we get into the season a little further on? Once they've established what they're doing and what the plan is, and that story is moving forward, is this something else that can come up as a part of their relationship building as they continue to grow and go down this path of whatever it is that go on this underworld thing. So I think that would be kind of cool, at least maybe at least from an Easter egg perspective, that could set up something into a second season of some sorts. But again, how important is Omega? Why would she be important? Is kind of remains to be seen. And we're going to have Bad Batch season 2, so I don't think we're going to see her in this show, at least first season of the show.
Yeah.
But it would be
It
cool
would
to
have
get
to.
some. It'd be cool to get some little, yeah,
Oh, so
breadcrumbs.
I just remember the theory. The theory was they made themselves disappear because of the line that Rex said, "Think the Empire thinking you're dead,
Right.
has its benefits." And I said, okay, so they would then leave and disappear into the underworld, and somehow she got mixed up with that, and Boba Fett finds out that she's living on Coruscant or whatever, and then somehow he goes after her and tries to save his sister, but there's probably more to it. That's that whole theory. I'll find the
Okay.
episode and listen to it again, but whatever. Okay,
Maybe that was her helmet with the credits in it.
I'll knock it off. All right, we got anything else? Is that it?
I think that's it. Man, we had a great showing tonight, and a lot of folks, even not in the chat, kind of in the background. So I wanted to say a special thank you to everybody that showed up. I will not get everyone's name, but I will certainly try. Katya, Steph, Alejandro. Oh man, who's all these ear glue media guys? Of course, Mike Rondo, the madman himself. Music Train, Hard Counter, TJ. Thanks for coming out, buddy. Of course, Mike Rondo, Tim Calvert, Captain Jack. Man, who else did we have in here? We had a good list, and I apologize if I think I saw Risk Bayless in here at the beginning, of course, Scott for the first time. So appreciate everyone coming out, doing the live stream again. We try to give everyone advance notice. You can expect more Book of Boba coverage, especially as we get further into December, and that whatever happens after as we get kind of between the new year and the Christmas time here. So exciting time to be a Star Wars fan. There is no shortage of things to go and dig into these days.
Yeah.
I like that we're able to ping pong between like times now. I like that. It's almost refreshing in some resort. Like you get the High Republic stuff, and then you can kind of go back into the original trilogy days, and then you've got some things in between with the Crimson Reign stuff in the comics.
Yep.
So you've got kind of these multiple things going at the same time, and you can really kind of dive in and out of them as you want. At least for us, as doing this show, it keeps it fresh for us, so we don't have to just focus on one singular thing. And then, of course, then you got things like visions that come up that are just completely out of left field, that are just totally different than everything else we've got.
Yep.
So it's really cool time to be a Star Wars fan. It's a lot to keep up with, but at the same time, it's a lot of fun. You get a lot of variety.
And it's going to be crazy next year. All right. We've got Andor. We've got this one, season 3 of Mandalorian, the Kenobi series.
Yeah. Hype train for Kenobi is going to be pulling up to the station by the end of next year.
Yeah. So yeah, we're in for a.
Oh yeah. Mando. Yeah. Mando by the end of next year, probably.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to know more about Acolyte. When are they going to say anything about Acolyte? Come on, people.
There was a rumor today about the, well, I won't share that. Okay.
All right, you got to tune into Patreon if you want to hear the rumor.
Well, yeah, we'll do rumors and stuff on Patreon. So, all right. Well, that's it for this show. We may come back next week and do Ronin unless something else happens, and we'll table that yet again. Yeah. But eventually we will be talking about that. So as Jonesy said, thanks to everybody for coming out tonight and joining us. I will try to get this episode. I am going to get this episode out tonight, both the Patreon and just the general public release, so it doesn't sit there and get stale and after everybody's done talking about it. So look forward to that.
Gonna hold you to it.
Yeah, no, I will. I guess that's it. I'm gonna roll credits. Thank you all our Patreon subscribers. You'll see your name in the credits here if I've got the right one located. You never know.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.